Blog Talk Radio.
Yes, you are listening to Shophar, and the Shophar is blowing. This time we are blowing to inspire the people to do their thing. The Shophar is also blown to coronate a queen or a king. And today the Shophar is being blown to embrace your own sensuality. This is Faux Show Holistic Health on Blog Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Shophar. And today I'm really looking forward to having this sister on board. My sister, Heather, shout out to Ask Heather G on YouTube. Check out her. But my sister put me onto this sister about a year ago. And when I first saw her videos and everything, I just really admired how the sister was going in and just kind of uncovering herself and bearing herself to the YouTube world, just showing, her own growth, and in that, inspiring others to do the same. And so, the sister has really, impacted a lot of people out there. She's an author, she's a YouTuber, very successful YouTuber, and also a sexologist. And so with that, I want to just go ahead and bring the sister on, Shan. Yeah, Shan, thanks again for being on the show. We definitely appreciate you out there, and I'm not the only one. Looking at your views and the feedback, it seems like you've been very well received. So again, thank you for being on Faux Show Holistic Health.
Well, hey, I appreciate the nice-ass intro, so thank you for having me.
Oh, no question. And for those of you out there, I see some new listeners out there and everything. Those of you know that I just like to go ahead and jump in. The backstory and all the great things that Shan has been up to, we're going to, at the end of this, make sure we wrap up in a good way so you can find out how to reach out to her or find out more information. But, Shan, the first thing I wanted to go into, because with your videos, you go into a lot of how-to type of stuff also, like how to do a seductive private dance or how to wear your hair sensual or makeup and these type of things. But one of the videos that really grabbed me the most is one that you recently did. And I was searching for it again, but it was the why you do videos. So a little bit, I think that would be the perfect foundation for us to go into at the beginning. Why do you do this?
I do YouTube videos because it's a place where you get an unfiltered opportunity to share your voice, probably similarly to why you do this radio show. I think that we live in a world where we're always waiting for that yes, and what the new millennium has brought in 2013 and on, has probably 2005 actually, has given us the opportunity to say yes to ourselves. So you don't have to wait for that man in the boardroom, to give you that check mark. You can do it on your own. And I learned that the hard way. I did YouTube probably back in 2010 or so, and my book came out, which was Laid. And then I stopped doing YouTube in 2012 because I'm like, there's nothing really popping off here. There's nowhere for it to go. And as soon as I quit, I had a couple of my friends who just started and now have massive careers because they stuck with it. So I was doing traditional media, and I had done 4 pilots in a row. And a pilot is a presentation that you get, but you have to book it like any other show. And so you go through this big auditioning process, you go through this contracting phase, you shoot this pilot, and then the network would say no to it and nix it. And that happened 4 times in a row. And after the 4th time it happened, I was like, how about YouTube? A place where the work that I do actually gets seen by more than 7 people. And so it was really just me giving that yes to myself.
Gotcha. So you didn't have to do a pilot for yourself. So
exactly, right? You don't have to do a pilot or pitch to somebody or ask permission. You just know that you're dope. You invest in yourself. You buy your own camera. You put your own money forward because you believe in yourself, and then let all the chips fall into place. And so it is that moment where you're like, I'm good enough, and I'm going to invest in myself. And that's, what the start of any kind of social media adventure, whether you do podcasting or whether you do blogging, whether you just go out there and take photos of yourself. That's just you saying yes to yourself.
Hell yeah. Okay. I like that. That's that type of empowerment we need. And, one of the things that you said on one of your videos that stood out to me is, you don't really talk so much about fake it till you make it. You sell your strengths and buy your weaknesses. So speak a little bit on that based on what you just said there about, go ahead and saying yes to yourself. So how do you sell your strengths and buy your weaknesses?
So one of my strengths would absolutely be that I'm I have good ideas. I have great messages, but I'm not necessarily the best speaker. So I have gone to like 4 different speech therapists because I speak very quickly. I tend to drop the ends of words. I stutter at times. And so that is something I had to invest in myself and buy and hire somebody who's better. I'm definitely not a pro editor. Again, my storytelling, I think, is my strength. I originally went to school for journalism, so I think my understanding of story is enhanced, but I'm not the most aesthetic and, artistic person. And so I storyboard all my stuff and I creative direct them, but I may have somebody else come in and edit them, especially on bigger projects. And so I'm very clear, about what it is I'm good and not good at. And I think that when we're in a world that's all about the thumbs up and the high fives and the likes, it can be hard to really have that honest conversation with yourself and say, look, like you need growth here. Like you're not seeing the trajectory that you want because there's areas that you suck, and that's okay. Like don't focus on the negative areas, to highlight the good things about yourself. And if you have extra capital or anything else or something to barter or trade off, trade that off to buy one of your weaknesses. And I think for me, that's been a major transition point, for in the past year, especially with me investing more in people.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like the, figuratively speaking or whatever, it's kind of like the analogy I would say is like one of your videos you talk about, buying your lingerie or something to your body type. If you have longer legs, and no booty but bigger breasts, wear something that accentuates your strength, and then you can go work out on the booty. You know what I'm saying? So that's more or less what you're saying, more or less, right?
Oh, that's a big one for me because there's so many people that I know, and that's another quote of mine is meet yourself where you are. When it comes to sexuality or sensuality, a lot of people are like, well, I don't do this because I'm not in shape, or the way that my body works, I don't feel comfortable in certain positions. And I'm like, instead of canceling out an entire sexual activity or sex altogether or sensuality or partnership because you're not, where you want to be, why don't you just accommodate yourself from where you are? You don't have to get completely naked. If that thought terrifies you, I'm not going to sit here and say, rah, 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 love yourself. I'm going to say, okay, cool. If you feel better in a full fishnet bodysuit, that's hella sexy too. Meet yourself where you are. There's a lot of tools out there to accommodate yourself so that you can feel confident where you are without forcing yourself, into a role that you haven't yet achieved yet.
Hell yeah, throw them fishnets on, ladies. All right, so that's about. I think that's a very good message there because meeting ourselves where we at, like you say, in this rah-rah age, or sometimes with motivational speakers. A lot of times it's with good intentions. They mean well, but they, you may kind of lose the message of really focusing on, again, your strengths, but then also strengthening the things, behind the scenes or whatever. In your case, sometimes you're doing it right in front of everybody, which I think that's very helpful to others,
Yes, exactly.
Nice. Well, you know what, and one of the other things you said there is about creativity, and that's something that's been throughout some of your videos and stuff, and I think that's good. Creativity, like you said, is like a superpower. And if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, because I know you've done videos like I think the Sorry Girls and stuff like that, how would you tell the family to embrace their own creativity?
Well, first of all, you and your homework right now need a gold star. I'm a thumbs up all that. Thank you for watching all that content. That really brings a lot of warmth to my heart. I would say, again, I honestly do not consider myself the creative person. And I make a joke a lot that I'm a robot, and I really see myself that way. I like research. I like facts. I like information. I think I'm a left brain person who was dropped by accident in the jungle of the right brain people. And so all my friends are right brained and everybody around me, and I like to hang out with right brained people, but I think my natural tendency is more to the left and more to the analytical side. And I'm very fascinated by people. I have zero musical talent at all. And if you watch the lap dancing video, you'll understand that. I could barely put my legs together to make a dance move. I can't sing. I can't play an instrument. I can't do art. It's just not my strong forte. And even things like photography, which, I excel at, I think I'm good at it in terms of technical aspect, but I'm not necessarily the most creative. But because of that, I love being around creative people and learning from them. But I'm not shy about saying that that's not, my strength. It's about the right partnerships for your strengths to come out and be celebrated. And that is what I think has led me to my greatest success and my greatest happiness is not only finding my strengths, but supporting myself with people who appreciate those strengths.
Hell yeah. Very nicely put. I have to bring this up because you mentioned earlier about your dancing and everything. to me, that was the bravest shit I've seen or whatever. You did a very good job. And then also, because a brother has been in, like, I felt like I had rhythm until I went to a fucking samba class or African dance. And then I realized I had to rework some things. So to take people on that journey, too, and see all my unrhythmic movements and, oh, man, I can't even imagine doing that shit. So, you know, big shout-out for you for doing that. I mean, that of itself is empowering the people.
No, I think that's awesome, and that's one of those things you kind of have to be just okay with that. And I was saying to someone the other day who was saying that they're into positive affirmations and they're really into, like, sort of spiritual growth, but the problem is, like, I don't always feel positive. And I'm like, that's amazing. You know, to have somebody who has dedicated their life to this venture and to being a positive person who struggles with it is great. You know, to see myself as someone who claims to be a sexual expert or puts myself on this pedestal of, like, sexual atonement, the fact that I'm not perfect and I make mistakes, I think helps people to realize that we're all on this journey together. You know, no one's doing it perfectly, and we all have our shortcomings, but at least we're trying. Put yourself out there and try. And even if you don't get the response that you're looking for, it may make someone smile or inspire someone in a different way. So that's kind of, I guess, the goal of those videos. And so I'm glad that people enjoy them for that reason. You know, if it's not the sexiest thing you've seen, at least maybe it's the cutest.
Right. No, I think it's sexy, and just me, and, you know, everybody is different, but I think it's sexy, too, when people take on their fears and, you know, you kind of fall a little bit. It's kind of adorable in a way. It's like, oh, you know, so that's what's up, you know. And then, you know, the people, you know, and I think that's the thing that forces the person to maybe keep going and get better, you know what I'm saying? So that's what's up. You had a guest on there, Giovanni Tate, and she, you know, she just really said about dancing with simple, subtle movements and eye contact, and how that conveys so much sensuality. What's your feelings on that? You know, just the simple and the subtle things of expressing one's sensuality.
Yeah, I think in a world where we have such few face-to-face interactions, you know, in comparison to even 5 or 10 years ago, when we're really looking at people and paying attention and not having that itch in our hand, like, oh my gosh, check my phone in the next 10 seconds, when we really focus on people. And so when you give people that undivided attention and you really tune into them and you pay attention to them, it's one of the sexiest, most sensual things that you can do. And she was absolutely right. It is a matter of, it's less is more. And I went to a nude resort actually in Jamaica, and there was all these, like, sexy nights they used to have, and we all realized, like, man, like, when people make it cartoonish or cheesy or they do a lot, it kind of takes you out of the moment. It's the woman who was just wearing, like, a beautiful flowing summer dress, or the woman who was just wearing a robe that your eye was more drawn to. So a lot of times when it comes to sexuality, we think cheesy, gaudy, or pornographic, but really it's just, like, sensual, elegant, and understated.
Amen. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I had one of the 3 tantric masters that I learned from, and she said something to the effect of about, you know, in our society, there's either the suppression or the exaggeration of our sensuality. And I think that's exactly what you just talked about. She said the exaggeration of it is, you know, basically just going to put us more up in our head. And then, of course, we know what suppressing it does, too. So I like that you get that. That's dope, especially doing what
Great,
you do.
I'm glad.
Yeah. I know in one of your videos you had the wedge box or whatever. I guess you were, it's like the one where you had the lingerie on or whatever, and then you had the different products from Adam and Eve and everything. And you looked at the box, and damn, you had a very good point. It did look like a damn porno box, and you know the exaggeration of sexuality and everything.
Yeah, and that's actually, you know, funny enough, is I'm doing a collaboration with this company called Crave right now, and so I'm doing my own special edition version of their vibrating necklace. And I sat with the engineer yesterday over breakfast, and we were talking about that, just how because of the fact that a lot of engineers or a lot of industrial designers are men, and it's dominated by men. So you don't get a lot of representation of how women want these product designs or how women want packaging done or marketing done for things. And it's men's idea of what sexy is. And we're just like, no, we want chic and clean. We want it to be sleek. And not embarrassing. And a lot of the times sexuality tends to really miss the mark on that. I think the reason why porn is uncomfortable for a lot of women is because it's like you just don't see yourself in that position, and it's embarrassing. The sounds they make is unrealistic, where I think women's sexuality kind of leans more into that sensuality versus that overt sexuality. And I know for myself I'm like that, and of course there's people who disagree with me, but why I decided to even endorse that product is because it does represent exactly how I see my sexual self, which is not in your face, wearing leather handcuffs with my mouth wide open. It's not that person at all.
No, we're that. Actually, the name of the show that I put up for us is So Sensual, Embracing Your Full Sensuality. And because that's what I picked up from your videos and everything, is that you're someone who gets it about sensuality being, it can be the very overt, in-your-face things too. Nothing wrong with that if that's very genuine for oneself. But for many of us, it's kind of a more subtle expression of it. It's that little bit of eyeliner over top of the eye and everything, or that little ankle bracelet. And that for that woman, that ankle bracelet might be like her ass hanging out. And if you if you go to it, and if we can draw our attention to it and bring that same attention to it that we would the ass hanging out, then that's when people, that's when the energy can flow. So that's a very powerful thing that you're talking about there.
Yeah, and sensuality to me is just really being in tune with how you're interacting with something or how you're finding enjoyment. And the literal word is obviously playing with the senses, so smells, the touches, the sight, the sounds, the feeling of things. And that is what a sensual person is. It's somebody who's cognizant of the world around them, of the way their fabric flows against their skin, the way that they smell, the way that the wind hits them, and how the person behind them interacts with their scent. And I try, and sometimes when, for example, if I'm in an airport lineup and I'm hella stressed out, I'm oh, this is taking so long, I'll do something simple like just petting my arm, just to bring in some fun and some play and some sensuality to the moment. And so it's not always something that's overtly or designated for the bedroom. It's something that you apply, I think, to everyday life, to be aware of your surroundings and finding a way to find pleasure in them.
Very nice. Very nice. I mean, right there, you're a tantric master too. That's why they say, especially with women, in old school tantra from out of India and everything, a lot of the masters are women, and the men have to go to the women to actually learn and everything, to humble themselves and to get it, because I mean it's just something that's kind of, I think, innately, again speaking in generalities, but I think it's something that's innately in a lot of women to just get that. To be sensual beings and everything. So, very dope, very dope.
That's a great compliment.
No question. I mean, and especially in this world, Shan, where there's so many things that bring us into our head, in our head space, and take us out of our body. For people to, especially, you have a following and everything, for you to be putting that and lacing that message in there, sometimes very outright and sometimes very subtly. But you're still doing the same thing where you're getting that message out to people to be a little bit, to bring it back to the body more. And I think that's very powerful, very healing.
No, I agree. And I think what's funny is the other day I was talking to my partner, and I was like, what percentage of people do you think are great sexual lovers or great lovers? He's like, a lot. I was like, a lot like what? And he's like, I don't know, 70, 80%. And I was like, oh my gosh, how great it must be to be a man. Because I'm sure every woman, and I was having this conversation with my friend, and we were like, I don't know, 10%, 20, maybe maximum. But maybe there are some points that women kind of naturally have more of a natural instinct for sensuality that they can apply to the bedroom, which is why a man, would have greater success with various partners.
Yeah, until he gets it, I think that's kind of maybe the modality. We keep hopping around until we can kind of get it from a couple. Oh, this is what they like, So that might be what nature had intended. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. We're getting schooled. You said a sensual woman with an interest in seduction needs to surprise, entice, and inspire, and this takes novelty. And then you went into, about creating everything. So can you go a little bit into that about novelty and how we can even like you said you're not a super creative person, but yet you're doing it.
I think the word is authenticity, and I was having this conversation. I had a multi-generational sex talk on my channel, and it was women in their teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, And we got into this mini debate about vanilla sex. And the older women were like, what is this vanilla sex you guys keep throwing around? What does vanilla sex mean? And the teenager was like, well, it's kind of when it's like the standard missionary, not interesting. And then the older women were like, what's so wrong with vanilla sex? What's so bad about that? Like, what if we like what we like? And I was like, I think that the misconstruedness here, even the pressure to novelty, I think as a word has a lot of pressure associated with it because it's like brand new, something different, unique. Like, and people freak out like, oh my God, buy a whip, buy a new vibrator, buy a strap-on. We don't know what to do. We're like stuck. But to me, novelty really is authentic expression, because if you're authentic in the moment, every moment will be different. Even if you're doing the exact same activities over and over again, if you are giving an authentic expression, it changes things just a little bit. A funny smell, a sound, a laugh, a shared smile, a comment that is made. Like those things, bring surprise and intimacy in a unique setting and make the experience richer and different every single time. And that is actually something that I learned really well from my current partner. Because of the fact when we originally first started like being intimate with each other, I would find that he would do a lot of awkward things, but like awkward, like kind of pleasant. Like he would wrap my legs up in like a ball and wrap me in a ball and like, jostle me back and forth. And I was like, what is going on? But it was like, that's what he felt like doing. Or like I'd look at his face sometimes, he's making these weird expressions. I'm like, oh, but it's so unrehearsed. It was refreshing. And I find that we're not aware of how rehearsed we are. You really tune into that. One of my favorite studies was they had deaf people have sex, and they said that their sounds were so drastically different from the sounds that people make, obviously who have hearing. So the sounds that we make in sex are so heavily influenced by what we hear in porn. And so even in those moments of orgasm and of a full-on body takeover, we're still aware of how we're supposed to sound or what we're supposed to do or a face we're supposed to make. If you can separate yourself from that, and just find what your authentic expression is in that moment, you will always have a sensual and unique experience every single time, even if it is the exact same two activities.
Amen. Ashe, all of that. Family, go back and listen to what she just said. Let it seep in. Feel it. Let it liberate you, because that's some deep tantrika, go up on the mountains and Himalaya shit right there for you. For real, that's some Tibetan monk shit right there. Wow. And and femininity, there's something to be said about masculinity too. I'm on the planet with the XY chromosomes, to represent that energy. So, but femininity is like the ultimate novelty. It's just there's no end to its expression and how deep you can go into it. So, yeah, that's dope. We already at the, good conversations flow fast. We're already at under the 5-minute mark, actually almost at 3. So what I want to do is I want to make sure you have the proper time for people to be able to find your channel. You have a great book. I read a short story, The Night We Fucked Ourselves Stupid. That was dope.
Yay.
Yeah, that was dope. I read that, it was online and everything. But yeah, tell the family what, real quick about, how they can, find you more, and then one last nugget, if you will, and we'll be good.
I would just go with shanboody.com. It's spelled Boody with a D. My last name is Boodram, so ShanBoody.com. That kind of takes you to various different ways you can interact with me depending on what your comfort level is or what your interest is. And I think I'll leave you guys with my favorite quote, which is, I own it, they love it. It was something that liberated me this past 2 years at this point now, which just means when I stopped focusing on other people's opinion and really just said, well, if people truly love me, they will appreciate whatever makes me happy. And so I stopped worrying, just assumed that people would love things. And I just acted out of what my inner self wanted to do. And so owning my purpose and owning my truth and knowing in my heart that the right people are going to love it. And that, I think, was the biggest transition of my life that I want to share with your listeners.
There you have it, wrapped up in a bow with you right there. That's a great one. I want to say, Shan, you went over the different type of what the art of seduction, the siren, the visual, the rake, the dandy, and so on and so forth. I feel like your show is a good. It's like the ideal lover. It's one who they see your greatness and they bring it out to the forefront. I feel like the things that you say and the things that you're lacing in your shows and everything, you're setting the stage for that to happen. So congrats to you. Keep going.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that compliment. I'll take Ideal Lover for 500, sir. And thank you for an awesome interview and for all the work that you've been doing. I really appreciate it. And send me the link when it's done so I can post it up for all my people.
Oh, for sure. All right. Well, again, family, you've been listening to Shan Boody, and I'm your host, Shophar, a full show holistic health on Blog Talk Radio. And check out her website and all the things that she said there. And, again, thank you for coming through. Hotep.
All right. Peace, Shophar. Bye.
Peace.